Thank you, Divya. Thank you for the good words. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. So, Dr. Father Dasapan, Principal of the College, Dr. Santosh Kumar, IQAC Coordinator, respected teachers of the college, and other participants. I think even Dr. Sabu Thomas is also there, Vice Chancellor of MG University. Respected sir. The presentation by the Vice Chancellor was very interesting, very informative, and the slides were very well made. It was very interesting, very informative to see the slides. He has presented the NEP, the macro aspects of the NEP, along with the global, in the global perspective, giving global data. So we are now aware of what are the major macro aspects of the India's new policy and how does it compare with the global situation in many important aspects. It was a very wonderful presentation, sir. It was really interesting. My presentation, I think, is going to be complementary in the sense that what I would like to do is concentrate on the specific aspects of NEP 2020. Changes and challenges. So what I'm going to concentrate is what are the changes, specific changes proposed in the national policy. And when we try to implement these policies, naturally, there will be difficulties because these are important changes, radical changes. Some of them are radical changes. Many of them are very important changes. So when we try to implement these policies, these changes, naturally, there will be difficulties. And these difficulties are the challenges. So once we understand the challenges that we are likely to face in the implementation process, then it becomes easy to implement the changes. So the purpose is understand the changes, understand the challenges that are likely to arise in the implementation of the policy so that we are prepared when the policy is being implemented. So in a way, I think this will complement what Dr. Sabu sir has presented before us. So I have a presentation. I think I will share my presentation. Yes, can you see the slide? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think, right. So we have, the title is, as I said, changes and challenges emerging from NEP 2020. So I'm reminded of Charles Dickens' novel, A Tale of Two Cities. The best of times or the worst of times. The novel, A Tale of Two Cities, written by Charles Dickens, the first line is this: it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, written in 1859 after the French Revolution. The French Revolution transformed France into a chaotic condition. So there was a chaotic condition prevailing after the revolution. So the author is asking whether it is the best of times, because the revolution was implemented with a very good objective of creating a good condition for France. So the author is asking, is it the best of times or is it the worst of times? We are in the corona period. We are also asking ourselves, many of us are asking ourselves, is it the best of times or is it the worst of times? Are we moving from this worst of times to the best of times? Let us take the education scenario. The whole world is in turmoil, as I said, due to the COVID pandemic. All sectors of life are affected. Education sector is very badly affected. Schools are not reopening. Education institutions are not reopening. We are having online classes, but how far are they effective in the transformation of the individual? Because education is the transformation of the individual, not learning something. So is it really happening? In the education scenario, we are having the worst of times. Are we having the worst of times? Can we expect to move to the best of times from here? After this coronavirus, can we move to the best of times? And in addition, we have the education sector is further affected by NEP 2020. So after the virus is over, we will be implementing NEP 2020, and are we going to the best of times? So we have to understand what are the changes and challenges emerging from NEP 2020. What are the changes, specific changes, and what are the difficulties that we are likely to face when implementing these specific changes, and how do we prepare ourselves for that? The historical perspective has been given, so I'm not going to. Dr. Sabu sir has given the historical perspective of our Commission, Education Commission. The education policies that has already been mentioned, so I'll skip this. Okay, now let us look at the evolution of NEP itself. This NEP 2020, which has been approved by the ministry, the evolution of that is also interesting. The draft NEP 2019 was published in June 2019. It was a very detailed document containing 484 pages. And it contained very specific details regarding implementation of the different proposals. There were a lot of proposals for changes, and there were specific details regarding the implementation. Then it was open for discussion. A lot of comments, suggestions were invited from the public. And a revised NEP 2019 was published in November 2019 with 55 pages. From 484 pages, it came down to 55 pages based on the comments and suggestions regarding the draft policy. The specific details were omitted in it. And then finally, the final document, NEP 2020 with 65 pages, was approved in July 2020. So we have now a very, very shortened form of the original draft NEP with 484 pages. This is the content of NEP 2020. The introduction. Part 1 deals with school education. Part 2 deals with higher education. Part 3 deals with the other key areas of focus. There it deals with professional education, adult education, the promotion of Indian languages. Sabu sir was speaking about that. Somebody was asking some questions also. Technology use and integration, online and digital education. So the related aspects of education are covered under part 3. Part 4 is making it happen. The advice, what are the implementing policies, the financing, the implementation, and the regulatory system and so on is discussed in the last part, part 4. So we have 4 parts. We will be concentrating on part 2, the higher education. The vision for India's higher education system as per the policy. It is explained in chapter 9 of the policy. It starts with 10 problems currently facing India's higher education system. So chapter 9 starts with 10 problems which are facing, which the current higher education system is facing. Then the policy gives a vision which includes 9 key changes to the current system. So we are going to concentrate on these 9 key changes. These changes are supposed to correct the 10 problems which the higher education system currently faces. So let us see what are these changes that the policy proposes. The problems in the higher education, I'm not going to concentrate on this because we have time limitations there. So I'm leaving the problems. Many of the problems we know, these 10 problems, and they are really serious problems. But let us concentrate more on the changes, the proposed key changes. The first one is moving towards a higher education system consisting of large multidisciplinary universities and colleges. Have Martin Reading there, large multidisciplinary universities and colleges, with at least one in every district, with more higher education institutions across India that offer medium of instruction or programs in local Indian languages. The first part is very important. So we have to move towards a system where we have large multidisciplinary universities and colleges. Second change, proposed change, is moving towards a multidisciplinary undergraduate education. We have single stream education. At the undergraduate level, we concentrate on one subject, but we have to move to a multidisciplinary undergraduate education as per the new policy. Third one is moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy, autonomous colleges. Already Xavier was mentioning about it, the autonomous colleges. Then these 3 are very important. The first 3 changes are very important: large institutions, multidisciplinary undergraduate program, and autonomy. Next change, proposed change, is revamping the curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and student support for enhanced student experiences. That is very good. The students will have to be exposed to different types of experiences, industry interactions, multi-skills, and so on. Excellent. Next, reaffirming the integrity of faculty and institutional leadership positions through merit appointments and career progressions based on teaching, research, and service. So the faculty is given importance here. The faculty should be based on their appointments should be based on merits, and their career progression should be based on their merit, and so on. So all the faculty gets importance here. So these are not so important. The first 3 are important. I'll come back to those first 3 changes shortly. Next change, Sir was explaining it in the context of the global scenario also. Establishment of a national research foundation to fund outstanding peer-reviewed research and to actively seed research in universities and colleges. So research has to go up. Sir was showing the patents, the publications of India, which are very much less. So this National Research Foundation hopefully will help to increase our patents, our publications, our standing in the research field. Next one is the governance of higher education institutions by highly qualified independent boards having academic and administrative autonomy. So private institutions, public institutions should be governed by independent boards. Next one is a light but tight regulation by a single regulator for higher education. Now we have a multiplicity of regulators, so we are moving to a single regulator. And the last one is increased access, equity, and inclusion through a range of measures, including greater opportunities for outstanding public education, scholarships by private philanthropic universities for disadvantaged underprivileged students, open learning, open distance education, infrastructure and learning materials accessible and available to learners with disabilities, access, equity, and inclusion. So these are the changes proposed. Some of these changes will not require any challenging situation. They are easy to implement, but some of them really require or will bring in some challenges. So I'll be presenting, I'll be taking each change and the corresponding challenge that we are likely to face when implementing that particular change. Out of these 9 changes, 3 are radical reforms. The first one, moving towards a higher educational system consisting of large multidisciplinary universities and higher educational clusters. This is a radical reform. This is a recommendation regarding the structure of higher education. The structure of higher education will change from the current structure. Now I'll show you more details a little later. So the first radical reform is regarding the structure of the higher education structure, the structure of the higher education itself. Then the second radical reform is moving towards a multidisciplinary undergraduate education with 4-year bachelor's program. So this again is a radical reform. It's a 4-year bachelor's program. This will be multidisciplinary program. This is a recommendation regarding academic reform. So the first one is a recommendation regarding the structure of higher education. This is a recommendation regarding the academic reform. The third radical reform is moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy. And this is a recommendation regarding governance. So the structure is going to change, academic things are going to change, and the governance in the higher education sector is also going to change. So these 3 things will radically change the higher education in India. Let us see more details. The existing system, we are all familiar with the existing system. We have single stream institutions which are small or medium in size. Examples, the teacher training colleges, management institutes, law colleges, these are all very, very small institutes. Medical and nursing colleges are medium. Engineering and architecture colleges, fine arts, music, physical education, hotel management, fashion design, small institutions. So basically we have small or medium institutions at present. Then we have the arts and science colleges which are multi-stream and are either of medium or large size. Some of them are of large size, some of them are medium size. The change proposed is from this system, we are moving to large multidisciplinary universities and colleges. By 2040, all higher education will happen in large multidisciplinary institutions with teaching programs across disciplines and fields to ensure optimal resources, integration across disciplines, and vibrant large education communities. So this is a major change. From the existing scenario, we are moving to a scenario where we will be having mostly large multidisciplinary institutions, and each of these institutions will aim to have upwards of 3,000 or more students. This move towards this higher large multidisciplinary institutions will be carried out by consolidating and restructuring existing institutions and also by building new ones. So we can consolidate and restructure the existing small and medium institutions, or we can also build new institutions. So these are the changes proposed from the existing system. So we are going to have a new system, and here we are going to face some difficulties. So those difficulties we call the challenges, and we will be discussing, we'll try to understand what are the challenges or changes that we are likely to face when implementing this phase of the educational policy, the first major proposed change. Single stream institutions will be phased out. Medical colleges, engineering colleges, law colleges, architectural colleges will be phased out, and all these single stream higher educational institutions will move towards becoming multidisciplinary. So we will not have a medical college by itself. We will have a large institution where there will be medical education, there may be other engineering education, other educational systems, and so on. So that is, we can imagine. So now we have Trivandrum Medical College. So the Trivandrum Medical College will have to become another type of institution where there will be other courses also, multidisciplinary courses also. Many of the engineering colleges are single stream. They will have to be transformed into institutions where engineering will be there, other courses will also be there. So what are the challenges that this proposed change is likely to bring in? The existing system of specialized learning in single discipline, small and medium institutions has its own merits and advantages. We are familiar with having specialized medical colleges, engineering colleges, or architecture colleges. They have their own merits and advantages. Phasing out this single stream higher educational institution is likely to affect specialized learning. So that is one difficulty that we have to consider. Is it going to affect the specialized learning, a doctor, medical education, architectural education? 5 years, a student is studying 5 years exclusively for medicine and architecture. Still they are unable to become good doctors sometimes and good architects. So converting those into multidisciplinary, is it going to affect the specialized learning? Something we have to consider. Small and medium institutions scattered across the country helps to enhance access. So one of the prime objectives of this new education policy is to enhance the gross enrollment ratio to 50%. Currently we are around 25%. So the gross enrollment ratio has to be increased to 50%. So people should have access to higher education. At present, every nook and corner of the country we have, especially Kerala, every nook and corner we have a college, a small college, but people can study there. And now we are going to convert all these into consolidate and restructure them into large institutions. Then is it going to fewer number of large consolidated institutions? Is it going to adversely affect access to higher education? So when you have lesser number of large institutions, what about the access to higher education? And these will be located at distant places sometimes. So as Sabu sir was mentioning in the problems, in the last slide he mentioned it. The benefits of the higher new education policy is likely to affect likely to benefit the colleges in the urban areas. In the rural areas, it is going to adversely affect the higher educational system. He mentioned it there. So the same thing, I'm also mentioning the same thing. So when you are converting from this existing system into a large consolidated multidisciplinary institutions, is it going to adversely affect the access? So that has to be considered. Both types of institutions need to coexist in the system. Both are good. Large institutions, multidisciplinary institutions are good, but doing away with the small institutions may affect the people, the access of people in rural areas. So these are some of the challenges that are we are likely to face when we are trying to implement the first radical change proposed in the higher education policy. Consolidating and restructuring existing single stream institutions into large multidisciplinary institutions is problematic. It's not easy. Consolidating, bringing them all together, or restructuring. If they are under the same management, it may be possible. But if they are under different managements, how do we consolidate and restructure the small institutions? They may have to be closed down. But increasing the size of the institutions, you require land, especially in the context of Kerala. If you want to expand the size of the existing colleges, we require land, we require money to invest in expanding the colleges into multidisciplinary large institutions. So that we are going to face a lot of problems here. It's a problematic how to consolidate and restructure existing single stream institutions. So when you think about the actual implementation of the first major proposed change, a lot of challenges are going to come up. So we should be prepared to face these challenges. The proposal for institutional restructuring and consolidation, the proposal is this. The new institutional architecture for higher education. All higher educational institutions will develop into one of three types of institutions. The first one is a research intensive university. The second one is a teaching intensive university. And the third one is autonomous degree granting colleges. So the existing scenario will change. The existing architecture of higher education, structure of higher education will change, and we will have three types of institutions. The first one is research institution, research intensive university, teaching intensive university, and autonomous degree granting colleges. So the existing institutions will have to change, transform into one of these. Either they have to become a teaching university or they have to become an autonomous degree granting college. Now let's look at this autonomous degree granting colleges. The system of affiliated colleges will be phased out over a period of 15 years through a system of graded autonomy. Each affiliating university is supposed to mentor its affiliated colleges to develop their capabilities and achieve the minimum benchmarks of autonomy. All colleges currently affiliated to a university shall attain the required benchmarks over time. 15 years time is there to secure the prescribed accreditation and eventually become autonomous degree granting colleges. So a college can decide whether they want to convert it, expand themselves into a teaching intensive university. That is also possible, but a lot of investment is required there. A lot of changes will have to be brought in, or they can convert themselves into an autonomous degree granting autonomous college by increasing their grade and increasing their quality. So all these things are easy to say, but converting a college into a degree granting autonomous college from the existing system requires a lot of effort. A lot of challenges may have to be faced. So that is why I have described it as a challenge. Transforming affiliating universities. So in that first, I'm still in the first proposed change. So there we have to transform all the affiliated universities in India. So in India, we have a lot of affiliating universities. So this is a radical change. So all these affiliating universities will have to transform themselves into a teaching intensive university or research intensive university, and they will lose all the colleges affiliated to them. They will be independent. The colleges will be independent. So all affiliating universities will transition to type 1 or type 2. And the universities will have no affiliated colleges. All the affiliated colleges must develop into autonomous degree granting colleges or merge completely with the university that they are affiliated to, or develop into a university themselves. So these are radical changes. It takes time. We have 15 years time is granted by the policy. So during that time, this transformation will raise a lot of challenges. A lot of investment may be required, a lot of qualitative changes in the processes may be required. So the teachers and their management will have to be prepared for a lot of new challenges, new processes. There will be no affiliating universities or affiliated colleges after 15 years. The model global universities. Stanford University. It has 7 schools. So there's a graduate school of business. There's a school of earth, energy and environment science. Graduate School of Education. So teacher education will be under this. And School of Engineering. So all engineering education will be under this. And School of Humanities, School of Law, School of Medicine. So this university has, under the university itself, there are different schools. So this is one model which is to which we have to transform. The Indian universities will have to transform. Or in India, also we have, in India at present, we have this deemed universities. Some of the deemed universities are of this type, SRM. One example I have just taken, SRM, which is with its faculty, schools and departments. So this is the type of universities to which the existing affiliating universities will have to transform. So let us see the challenges that we are likely to face. Transforming single stream, small and medium sized institutions into large multidisciplinary institutions require considerable amount of new investment. So that is a challenge. Money is required. So from where do we get the money? Most of the institutions are private institutions, and the private institutions will have to find the money. The private higher education institutions are owned and managed by different educational agencies, and consolidation of these to create large institutions may not be feasible because they are owned by different agencies. If the same agency has many types of colleges, they can be consolidated into a large institution with more than 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 students. But that may not be possible in all cases. There are many educational agencies which have one or two colleges only. Consolidation of institutions by itself will not enhance the quality of education. So there again the problem is the consolidation by itself will not enhance the quality of education. A small institution, a small law college may be having a very high quality program. Just by consolidating it with some other institution, or a small single stream institution which is not running properly, just by consolidating it into a bigger institution or consolidating it with some other institution, by itself will not enhance the quality of education. So enhancing the quality of education is a challenge. That is required. Definitely it is required, but how do we do that? Consolidation is not the answer to that. So this is a challenge that we are likely to face here again. Initiatives for enhancing the quality of education in these institutions should be implemented. So that is the problem. How do we enhance the quality? So creating large institutions sometimes is going to affect the quality also, because if you do not manage it properly, having a large number of students and large number of departments in an institution, the quality may be adversely affected. So specific initiatives for enhancing the quality of education should be given focus, along with consolidation or restructuring, whatever is happening. Restructuring into multidisciplinary large institutions is good, but there should be specific initiatives for enhancing the quality of education. So these are some of the challenges that we are likely to face. Again, continued. Restructuring all affiliated colleges into autonomous colleges is a radical reform. Definitely. All such colleges have to function efficiently and with the quality to sustain the quality of higher education. So what we require is actually the quality of education. That is the accreditation. We know that accreditation process is trying to enhance the quality of education. So how do we sustain the quality of education? So all colleges, just by converting them into autonomous, doesn't mean that they will become, they will enhance the quality of education. So a lot of effort is required there. So that is why it's a challenge. All colleges, when transforming into degree granting autonomous colleges, in that before the transformation process, a lot of things have to be done. They have to function efficiently and with quality. So how do we do that? So that is the biggest challenge here. So they have to enhance the functioning efficiency, the quality of education provided in those institutions. So that is a challenge. Just by you can give grant autonomy and degree granting autonomous status to the college very easily. By an order, you can do that. But how do we enhance the quality? That is a challenge. The quality and efficiency of autonomous colleges will have to be enhanced and ensured before they are given degree granting power. So within this 15 years, before granting the autonomous status and the degree granting power, the quality and efficiency of the autonomous colleges, the existing affiliated colleges, will have to be enhanced. So there is a lot of things to be done before the policy, the intended objective of the policy will be attained. Time is given, 15 years are given, but these are the challenges that we have to face. The management, the teachers, the students, all of them will have to face this challenges. Now we move to the second radical reform, that is multidisciplinary undergraduate education. So that is a major change again, a change proposed in the national education policy. So we will see what are the changes proposed, and then we will see what are the challenges that we are likely to face when we are trying to implement this change. Multidisciplinary education would aim to develop all the capacities of human beings, intellectual, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, moral, good, that is required. Imaginative and flexible curricular structures will enable creative combinations of disciplines for study with multiple entry exit points. So there will be, this can be done, creative combinations of disciplines can be done while framing the curricular structures and so on. That is all possible. Science and engineering students will learn arts and humanities. Students of arts and humanities will learn more science. All students will learn vocational subjects and soft skills. This is the proposed change. So this is what is meant by multidisciplinary education. So we are not studying science or engineering alone. We are studying along with this. We will also study arts and humanities. Similarly, arts and humanities students will study not merely arts and humanities. They will study more science. Everybody will study more vocational subjects, soft skills, etc. That is meant by that multidisciplinary education. All undergraduate programs, including in the professional colleges like medical colleges or architecture colleges or engineering colleges, technical colleges, vocational disciplines, will include education in liberal arts as part of the program. So we have to have, a student will have to study all disciplines. They will not be concentrating on a single discipline. They will have to study all disciplines and also liberal arts. Liberal arts. We will see what is meant by liberal arts. So the undergraduate degree will be either 3 or 4 year. The new proposed structure is 4 year with multiple exit entry points. Sabu sir was shown that after 1 year you have a certificate program. If you leave after 2 years, you will get a diploma. After 4 years, 3 years, you will get a degree. But the preferred option is the 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor's program. That is the preferred option according to the new policy. So we will have 4 years of study, but we study not one discipline, you will study different disciplines, combinations of different disciplines with the liberal arts also. The academic bank of credit. Sabu sir again showed that with examples from United States, his own examples. So this is an academic bank of credit. So wherever you study, your credit you earned there will be pooled into a bank and you can excellent. This is an excellent reform proposal which is useful to the students. Master's program, there are different designs of master's program is there. One is the normal 2-year program with second year devoted to research after a 3-year program, or you have if you have completed your 4-year degree, bachelor's degree program, you can have your master's in 1 year, or there can be an integrated 5-year bachelor's and master's combined. PhD will be after the master's program, MPhil will be discontinued. All this have been already mentioned. The policy initiatives for liberal education, because there is much emphasis on liberal education in the new education policy. So some people are not very clear about what is meant by this liberal education. So everybody should have liberal education, that according to the new policy. Professional, technical, vocational education programs will make arrangements for students to pursue a liberal, multidisciplinary undergraduate education. And redesigning the undergraduate program for liberal education, just be redesigned. And the liberal education means there will be focus on languages, literature, arts, sports, music, visual arts, performing arts, yoga, etc. So all these will be combined in the curricular design. Also, liberal education deals with constitutional values. So all these are the components of liberal education, which will have to be incorporated into the curriculum of the four-year undergraduate program. In higher educational institutions focusing on professional programs, the curriculum shall integrate strong elements of other disciplines and also fields including humanities, social sciences, and arts. So the professional education programs curriculum should also integrate the elements of other disciplines, including humanities, social sciences, and arts. So in other words, the content of the undergraduate program, whether it is a professional education like medical education or engineering education, or whether it is arts and science education like BSc mathematics or BSc chemistry, all of them will have to integrate elements of other disciplines also, multidisciplinary. Let us see what are the challenges that we are likely to face when implementing this reform. One of the requirements of the 21st century is rigorous specialization in a chosen field or fields. So we are in the 21st century where specialization is required, because there are so many science fields, so many other fields where a lot of things have to be studied. Sabu sir was mentioning about the new courses. See, all of them are specialized courses. So that is the need of the 21st century. Rigorous specialization in chosen field or fields. We should have specialization in more than one field. That is on the one side. That somebody was asking a question also about the job market. One participant was asking a question about the job market. With the current job market, if you concentrate on arts and humanities, are we going to get jobs in the current job market? A question was raised. So in the 21st century, rigorous specialization is the requirement. Also, a large majority of students terminate their higher studies after completion of their degree and seek employment thereafter. So they don't go for higher studies or research, they want a job. That is, India is a poor country, so what is required is a job. So after their degree, they try to enter the job market. And how will they get a job? What is required for getting a job there? So that is an important point. So in the 21st century, this is the situation. On the one hand, we require specialization in specialized fields, and the other hand, the students complete their degree and then they move to the job market. But they should be equipped with the skills required for the job. So employment ready. Can liberal education at the undergraduate level fulfill the expectations and requirements of such students? So that is a very important challenge that we are going to face when we are moving to a multidisciplinary undergraduate program with liberal arts and so on. So a liberal education with a multidisciplinary education, is it going to help the students to meet their expectations of a job, their expectations of a career, and their requirements in the 21st century? So that is a real challenge. So we have to design the new educational multidisciplinary liberal arts education. We have to design that new education as per the new policy. It has to be designed in such a way it is able to meet the expectations and requirements of the students who are leaving after the undergraduate program. So that is a serious challenge. Integrating liberal education with specialized learning is likely to reduce the rigor of the specialized learning. So when you have the specialized learning is what we require, definitely. We require specialized learning in some fields at least. Integrating the liberal education with the specialized learning, is it going to reduce the rigor of the specialized learning? So that is another challenge that is going to face. See, on the one side, we need this liberal education, multidisciplinary education, because as I said earlier, education is not simply learning something. Education is the transformation of the individual. So the individual has to be transformed and has to be empowered with all skills. So specialized learning, also other skills are required, and that person's knowledge, skill and attitude, KSA, knowledge, skill and attitude. So the student has to be transformed into an empowered citizen with different skills. So that is also required on the one side, but he also requires specialized learning. So how to combine these two, the specialized learning along with the liberal education, multidisciplinary approach and so on. So that is the challenge. How do we integrate it properly? The outcome expected of a liberal education can be integrated into the specialized learning with suitable modifications in the curriculum. So specialized learning with some modifications in the curriculum can sometimes bring about the expected outcome. But full liberal education along with the specialized learning may create problems. Okay, teacher education, I think Sabu sir has mentioned that, so I'm not going to read in detail with that. Reimagining vocational education. So here again, we have a proposal in a new education policy. By 2025, at least 50% of the learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education. So 50% of the learners are supposed to be exposed to vocational education, both in school and higher educational institutions. Vocational education will be integrated into all school and higher education institutions in a phased manner over the next decade. By 2025, higher education institutions will offer vocational education either on their own or in partnership with industry or NGO. The BVoc degrees introduced in 2013 will continue to exist, but vocational courses will also be available to students enrolled in all bachelor's degree program, including the 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor's degree. And also the higher education institution can conduct short-term certificate courses in various skills. So this again is this is a change proposed in the policy. So what is the purpose of higher education? What is the purpose of vocational education? Both are different. So mixing them up together, higher education, we are focusing on specialized subjects going into research, master's degree, going into research, publications and patents and so on. So mixing the vocational education with the higher education, will it do good or bad? So that is the challenge here. The challenge here is higher education and vocational education have different orientation and focus. The two types of education may not always be complementary. So that is the problem. So we have already vocational education institutions which are providing vocational education. There are several institutions. But mixing up higher education with vocational education Is it good or bad? As I asked, as Charles Dickens asked, is it the best of times? Is it the worst of times? So is it good or is it bad? Integrating vocational education with higher education may result in dilution of the standards of higher education. So I think the purpose is that the students will get some vocational skills so that by the time they leave, if they are discontinuing after the degree program, so they will have some vocational skills also so that they can get into the job market, as we were discussing a little earlier. So it may be to meet the requirement of the students for some vocational skills, but will it not affect the standard of the higher education? That is a challenge. Or how do you otherwise integrate these two? Uh, how do you integrate the vocational education and the higher education in an optimal manner so that the standard of higher education is not affected, that students get some skills in vocational, some vocational skills. So that is why it is called a challenge. Why I am using the word challenge there is, how do we do that? That is a challenge. The current regulatory system, we have the UGC for central and state universities, arts and science colleges, but they perform multiple roles: dispersing of grants, setting standards, approving institutions. Then we have the separate regulators for professional education: AICT, NCT, MCI, BCI, Medical Council of India, Bar Council of India, and so on. And the NAC is the accrediting agency for all higher educational institutions, and NBA is the accreditation institution agency for professional education program. This is the current structure. We know that this is going to be changed, and there is going to be a transforming the regulatory system. Another proposal in the new higher education policy (NEP). The new regulatory system, the proposed regulatory architecture. There is the Higher Education Commission of India, HECA, the apex body. Then we have NHERC, National Higher Education Regulatory Council, the common single point regulator for higher education sector, including teacher education, but excluding medical and legal. So again, what is the point of saying that you have a single regulatory body? We are saying that we are having a single regulatory body, but we are excluding here medical and legal education. NAC, National Accreditation Council for accreditation of all institutions. Higher Education Grants Council, responsible for only for grants and scholarships. GEC, General Education Council, for setting up the expected learning outcomes or graduate attributes. So these bodies have limited roles. PSSB, Professional Standard Setting Bodies, ICAR, BCI, NCT, Council of Architecture, etc. shall transform themselves into the professional standard setting bodies and will be members of GEC. So the existing system is being transformed into a different system. It cannot be called a single regulatory system. Again, there are different bodies here. So how will it function? We do not know. We have to wait and see how the new proposed regulatory system will be better than the existing system or not. That is a matter of time. This is important. Effective governance and leadership. Every institution, whether it is a university or a college, should have effective governance and leadership. Absolute requirement. Now, the proposal is a board of governors shall be established consisting of a group of highly qualified, competent, and dedicated individuals. So there will be a board of governors consisting of qualified people, competent people, independent people. And all leadership positions and heads of institutions will be offered to persons with high academic qualifications and demonstrated administrative and leadership capabilities. So this board of governors will supervise the appointment of faculty positions in the institutions, whether it is private or government. The selection shall be carried out by the board of governors through a rigorous, impartial, merit-based, competency-based process led by an expert committee. expert committee constituted by BO, the Board of Governors. Each institution will make a strategic institutional development plan on the basis of institutions, on the basis of which the institution will develop their programs. So this independent board of governors, so that is going to create some problems, I think. I will show that in the next slide. Before that, Divya, you are there. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Yeah, how many minutes more do I have?
Sir, can you conclude in another 2 minutes?
Yes, okay, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So the challenge that we are going to face here, in the case of private higher education institutions, the owners have a crucial role in the management and governance. When it is a private institution, naturally the owners group, they have a crucial role in the management and governance of the institution. So this is the challenge here, how to avoid conflict of interest and ensure consensus in the governance of the institution when there is an independent board of governors. So when there is an independent board of governors looking after the management and governance of the institution, there can be conflicts of interest with the owners group, and there has to be a consensus between the owners group and the independent board of governors. So how do we ensure that this is going to be, this is a challenge, but the proposal is good. Having an independent competent board of governors is good. The challenge that we are going to face when implementing this is that there can be a problem. Okay, so I'll wind up my presentation here and take questions. Okay, I hope everybody could see the presentation slides, I hope. Divya?
Yes, sir.